Wake up, goddammit. Welcome to MARKETcast with Unk and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
It was good. Just kind of played pretty close to the vest. Had a couple big winners. I was looking. Basically, what I was trying to do is I see something that I think is going to happen early, and I try to jump on that, and then I just want to be done because the the market's a little bit um, shaky. The Nvidia fade, even though I didn't trade Nvidia, was my best day of the week, Thursday, when the semiconductors just didn't have enough support to stay up there, and they all dropped off. So yeah, that was my best day, and I think like for me, a good lesson there is you don't really have to try to have a big day every day, and you basically you try to keep your head above water on some of the rougher days, and then you get some conviction, you get the right setup. One day makes the whole week, so or one day makes the whole month, or whatever. So you just stick to the process. You don't get out of your process because you're bored or trying to force something. So that's kind of been my approach lately.
God, where were you for me last week, bud?
Yeah.
It was a down week for me. Um, I mean, we all know the stocks I play. Python didn't do me any favors this week. Um, but the Thursday I'm golfing. It's funny you mentioned the video on Thursday because I'm golfing, and the account looked real good when I woke up. Because the swings are doing better than the day trades right now, and it's obviously a little different setup on my end, but you definitely don't want these swings that are working to basically keep you afloat or keep your account even while your day trades are just getting smashed. Um, so I've been kind of a little mindful of that picking the spots a little better, and still I hate to say it on the share side, but swinging in the better setups in this market is where it's at. You have to be in front of the pop and fade. I mean, that's what it is right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I think I said it in Read the Room. We're on the flat part of the stairs. I mean, I gave a timetable at the beginning of the month. Um, pretty pretty adamant in that conviction, but um, I think I'm going to start making a daily market conditions just to pound it in everyone's head. 6 o'clock every morning. Post, hey, this is the market we're in. Just so people
Yeah.
understand. Like it's last Friday. That one day doesn't change the market conditions, and you've really seen it this week. Um, so swings did real good. Day trading, man, I should have just been golfing last week, to be honest with you.
And
That's how
yeah,
I.
and on swing. So I had an interesting Twitter interaction this week. I seem to have one of these a week, and I just had made a comment. This dude said he said was buy solar hard,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
maybe Tuesday or something. And I just said that I don't think you should tell people to do that because you're not giving a specific stock. They're definitely not all the same. The sector fragmentation is kind of the biggest theme going right now for on my end with options,
sure.
and that you tell people buy some sector hard, they're going to buy weekly out of the money options, and then it comes out, oh well, I'm a swing trader and I'm looking at this and this, and I was like, well, those are fine, but again, it's about providing context for people. I very rarely will say like whatever sector, send it. When I do, it usually they're good. Like weed, I'm like all weed or all uranium, and you know so many of those solar charts are just still in big trouble, still have maybe 20-30% down. So that kind of shot caller Twitter thing is we're definitely not in the market for that, really, for any sector, whether it's oil or any tech or semiconductors. That's just not our moment right now.
Yeah, no, solar specifically. I mean, you put me onto sectors. I mean, that used to just be my kind of alternate energy sector, and I had it all EV, everything together over there. But solar
Yeah.
and solar in general, since I've separated it, they get a lot of FUD. Like, we're getting to the point in the history of solar, because it's going to be around forever. It was new at one point in time. It's going to be
Yeah.
older at one point in time. So we're in the history of it, and right now, it's like the proof of concept needs to be proven at this point in time. People are wanting to know how efficient it is, what you really get back. Is it worth a production input that you're getting in the out? All that stuff. And the same with wind. I mean, we don't really trade wind stocks, but you're seeing that in that a lot. So if they're not efficient, or if it's not like a win for people, they're not really like looking into it. They got the 10 to 20% of the people that were going to sign up because it was a new trend, and we're just in a
Yeah.
lull in the history of solar right now. So I really don't see any catalyst for solar to really start running. And every time solar has ran in the last 5 or 10 years, you probably don't know that if you're only 23. It's because of government giving tax credits. I mean, that's why solar runs. It doesn't run because some new cool solar product came out. It's because the state and
Yeah.
local, federal government say, "Hey, you get $7, 10, $15,000 back." That's what's been cool with solar, and that's just gone away. Those clients are gone now. They all have solar. That's your 10% of the people you see with panels. Um,
Yeah. And so then what you're left with, if you're not going to get, Enphase making that explosive move up, like I've been on two of those moves like that, then you're in a kind of price discovery, and 110 is sort of the spot we're looking at. Could reverse before then a bit, but then it gets to 110. It's 110 to 140 or 110 to 150, and then it comes back down, and that seems to be the most likely outcome until you get a shift in government. And I mean, frankly, it would have to
yeah,
be Democrats control everything, some big new
sure,
infrastructure deal, like
sure.
something like that, would would give it that boost again. But yeah, I'm with you. It's a They still rely on like door to door salesmen, and
Exactly.
that's not the best type of marketing or sales, to be in, where people aren't seeking you out. You're just trying to sell vinyl siding
Well,
that charges your house up.
yeah, if they are in an area, it's a well-off area like Bellevue where
Yeah,
Microsoft's at in Kirkland. They have them up there, but those guys like keep the lights on by going and cleaning their customers' panels because they just tell them they need to be maintained.
yeah,
Like my
yeah,
buddy, my
right,
buddy was like, "Do I need to get these clean all the time?" I was like, I don't really think so."
right.
um, but yeah, like, and you hit the nail on the head for me because I was gonna bring up like as a swing trader from that standpoint. I mean, granted, I'm share side. Um, that whole thesis has to be off who's in control, red or blue, because if we get a red president, that's just a dead chart for 4 years. So you're hoping that they stay in control, and right now that doesn't look likely. It looks like we're gonna get a mixed bag. So I mean, even swinging
Yeah,
that, I think you're early. Also, I mean, you're probably 18 months away from that, probably affecting the chart if it went the right way for you. But
yeah,
I mean, that's I don't even think that they're thinking like that. I just think they've seen a dip on something. It's like a FOMO swing. I miss this big run, but I can get in for the next big run. And
yeah. And I just, I mean, like for solar, there's going to be times where it shows up in my notes, and I'm like, okay, first solar got this pop in weekly calls, and I think we get a little relief here. But that's kind of a short duration trade. I personally, there's just so much better stuff. If I'm going to
right,
DCA, it's like KHC or MKC, or something like that, where I people are gonna go buy Heinz ketchup and spite, like cumin and oregano and whatever. They're gonna buy that no matter who the president is, no matter who Congress is.
sure.
So you're basically just looking for sector rotations at that point. Um, and uh, and
Well,
then I kind of get into
they're gonna get a 3% day. They're gonna get a 3% day and call it a win for some reason. Like I
yeah,
averaged down for a small loss. I've heard that before,
right,
right?
right. No, yeah, that's that lingo. I listed out actually the whole progress of it. Like just watching starter, small loss. Like they just go through that whole thing. Taking a break, like that's the last one. But that's the whole
New
the
challenge,
Finchway trajectory.
new challenge account. That's the last one.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
New
yeah.
challenge account. Oh Jesus.
Oh,
Yeah, so
Um,
more of a local topic. I mean, I'm gonna direct you here a little bit, sorry, but more of like a local spot, because I'm big into it, and I think it's number one right now because it's active and it's like when I hear someone say solar, it's like, are you flipping paying attention at all? But COVID is live again, bro. They're manufacturing a new one. It's coming for Christmas.
yeah, brain emoji because that was actually my next topic was COVID. So I think mRNA was interesting because I saw a little bit of flow on it a couple weeks ago when the chart was just dead, and I it was under 100, and I agreed with you like yeah, gotta you gotta kind of wait for it to show some life first, and obviously it did, and we got the whole COVID story happening. I missed that, but I didn't feel too bad about it because I had NVAX, which
Yeah, way
has
better.
been better in a lot of ways. And then J and J is kind of the other one, and Johnson and Johnson to me is the safest of this whole lot because if you buy some Johnson and Johnson, you're not just buying a COVID vaccine. It's baby powder, right? We
Yep.
always talk about that.
Yep.
So it has that overlap with staples. If you buy some Johnson and Johnson shares, you're not really gonna feel that bad about it. Like it dips to 160 or something, you can just hold it. The COVID vaccines, they might they might bury you if you just try to diamond hand it. So there's that. And then I'm wondering too, what you think about those old the work from home, stay at home
Yeah.
plays like this, like Zoom, um, Peloton, even, um, which is a whole nother
That's a whole
story.
nother.
But
Yeah.
yeah, kind of what's your thing on that? Like Zoom in particular. I know we're going to talk about it next time, but it has a lot of down here. I mean, even their fundamentals are really good for the price. It's not a $400 stock anymore. So how do you look at that the whole COVID trade this time around? Public sentiment's way different.
Sure.
So how do you think that plays out?
Sure. No, I think they're gonna do good. I think we just know the playing field this
Yeah,
time a little bit better. Before it was kind of like these are new introductions to a lot of these stocks. Um, I think there will be another, lack of better term, sector that pushes. But that it's going to be that broadening, the same thing. I think the two you brought up are the tail ends of each side. I don't think
yeah,
Piton will probably do as well as it did the first time, and then I think Zoom is probably going to do a little bit better. Without getting into too much of my levels and stuff, I watch. I mean, volume profile to me is just watching where money's at, um, short and long term, where it's at, and when those start to line up, or when a lot of money starts to dump into a stock, um, all at one time, I kind of that kind of interests me, and then you just put the rest of the story together, and yeah, Zoom, you've seen that with Zoom down here at the level that we talked about, what, 3 or 4 weeks ago when we talked about it, and it had a little run. Um, just building well. So I like that for just from a chart standpoint. And then yeah, when you start getting into the fundamentals of the company, who used them the first time, who's still using them, pretty promising there in general, I think. And there's a bunch of them like that. Um, yeah, I don't want to give up too much, but I think
yeah, no, yeah,
I think I mean I if even if you get a sniff of I don't think we need a lockdown, right? We're day traders. I just think we need like the plan. Like here's the red, yellow, green thing again, right? Here's the one to
right.
phase 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever the hell we had. We had a lot of things. We just need that again, like just the
Oh
plan
yeah,
for it.
and the the all the companies that were like back to the office, if they start to ease some of that or do more like the work from home optional, like if those stories get out,
Hmm.
um, that that can be good for Zoom. Zoom just had ER, so in one sense, it's good to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
And it had, I mean, they had a good report. It got that priced in treatment the day after, where it had good news and sold off anyway. And so that's been a thing to thing to watch for. But as that happened, I posted in my notes, you can trade this flush with some puts, and but it was a 1 day thing. And then from there, you're not taking Zoom to $60 or 50 or anything like that. So you look for a spot, for it to reverse, or it's come up and kind of stabilize. So yeah, we'll be definitely talking about that. But again, it was another one of those that just illustrates, if you think that you're going to go front load an earnings report, you think the earnings report's going to be good, and you think you're going to make money off of options on that, it's not a great time for that. We saw that with Nvidia, and Snow did the same thing. Snow had a good report, sold off anyway, and then came back Friday. So you really, I mean, on the option side, your risk is so much better if you can just wait and just do the trade the next day, up or down, whatever it is. The people want that 20-30% home run through the earnings. I just think that's going to be hard to get these days.
Yeah, no, I mean, I said it a little bit and read the room, like unless you're, especially on the option side, which I know little about, like unless you're good at that straddle stuff, you just need to read reports right now. It's the
Yeah,
only consistency we have is that, well, one, it's going to react how it wants. We're not looking for good top and bottom and decent guidance, or it doesn't matter about top and bottom as long as guidance is good. None of that matters right now. It's an individual case basis, and even if it is good, it's popping and fading, and we've been on that since the first of the month for sure. Um,
yeah,
I mean, it's just the moves aren't lasting. And then if you look at the reverse end of that, when it's fading, when we usually have our 3 day rule, it's taken more like five. So
yeah.
it's just a slower market in general. It's the summer market. It I don't know. I'm ultra aware to that stuff. Like when I
Yeah.
wake up in the morning, I really do. It's one of the first things I think about. Like, what was yesterday like? What was the week like? What's the month like? So I understand the conditions of the market. Um, yeah, and then right now, I mean, you're just seeing a lot of stuff. And then I look at a lot of charts too. So right now, you're seeing a lot of stuff that's just like kind of sitting on or up the top of our channels. Hi, Spy, 430 up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're 3 to 6 months ago, we were like, oh man, that would be a good trade to make it to that level. Now we surpassed most of those levels, and now we're just building in the good cases 5 to 10%, that magical number, above these levels, or it completely just fell off the charts, and it's going to go back and test the lows of the year, which is why we stay away from that January low thing I've talked about last 2 weeks. Um, so I mean that's just where we are. It's hard to not necessarily sit on your hands, but less is more in this environment, and I just don't see that changing here until we get a catalyst. And why I say that is because COVID could be it. Because I really don't have one currently. But
No, I agree. On in healthcare specifically, I think the weight loss drugs are going to be a big thing. Um, I just saw it with TMO, had a big move off that. We've been on Weight Watchers, but that you kind of look for, like, what's a catalyst that has some staying power. I think that would be one. I think China could really kind of go either way, but it's going to likely make a pretty big move soon. So yeah, I mean, you just got. I still like oil. Aluminum and copper is pretty stable, but again, it's we're gonna have to see it pick a direction soon. So you just got to stay. You got to stay nimble. I get people asking me about things like AA, and I just can't. I just don't have a good read on it yet. I like the price down here, but also the price is a little below what I would want it to be. So there's a lot of stocks like that that are kind of like they're sort of
Roblox,
bleeding out,
Roblox.
and it's like, yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I'd love to play it back to my level, but it's gonna it might just bleed out slowly for 3 weeks too.
Hey, if
So
I told you at the first of the month, and you got, I'll pull the chart because I want to know. This is a good one.
yeah,
It's the first of the month. If I told you, bam, coin was at 100. and Roblox was at one more 40. Coin is at 100. Roblox is at 40. If I would have told you what's the safer play for the month, or is going to be the safer play during the month, what you would have totally said Roblox still. I bet.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I'm like, 36. We'll get 36. We'll bounce.
Yeah.
That would have been my thinking. Yeah.
And now we're middle of the month, or I guess we're I guess we're end of the month, and you're not touching Roblox, but coins on the list.
Oh, I know. Yeah, no, for sure. I will say with Roblox, the thing that saved me from entering that was that the move under 36 all happened all at once on earnings. So it's a little easier to
Yeah.
not try to play your level than for it to consolidate there and then just plummet. So I actually never got into it. I didn't get into it at 30, and I didn't want to short it at 30 either. But yeah, it's kind of shocking to see it there. I don't think that there's nothing catastrophic going on with their business. They're a company that doesn't pump their own stock a lot. So that's kind of part of it. But yeah, it's crypto. Like you bring up coin, crypto's another one where it's mixed. I mean, like I still like the smalls. Mara, we're going to talk about that, but it's a sector that desperately needs some kind of reason to go up because Bitcoin itself is teetering and I think could check down to like 22 or something pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm all for. I don't care which way the drastic move in the
Yeah,
Bitcoin price because it makes the charts easier to trade when there's drastic moves in the Bitcoin price. Um,
hmm
I'm interested in your read and what you see or how you um, decipher the read of Mara this week. I really am
yeah,
because of all of them. Like I get it from a chart standpoint. Um, it's been your best read of crypto. I think if there's a crypto stock you can read that I trade, I guess I gotta put that caveat on there. It's the better.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think you read Mara better than Coin. to be honest,
Yeah,
with you.
right. MSTR would be the only other one that's up there, but again, I mean, it's a $300 or what it was.
Yeah.
It's a $300 stock, so it's like it's a different kind of deal. But yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
But I'm pretty biased that well you said 22, so I'll just use your level without having to go get my own. I'm pretty biased in Bitcoin checking down to the next level. So like
Yeah,
I just still think there's a lot of that in the air, a lot of the FUD in the air, and you're not really seeing the rotation. And I think the lack of action in the altcoins doesn't really help the price of Bitcoin itself. So
yeah, and those point charts, some of them are pretty ugly, and I don't even see how they're recoverable. Um, because even if some of those altcoins have utility, okay, people are going to use it for whatever they're using it for, but it's not going to pump that price back up. So it's
sure.
yeah, it's a lot of those are definitely in trouble. The ETFs are potentially, I think, could be short term bullish, and then they sell off. I've traded silver so long now that I just don't know how an ETF is inherently bullish because they really okay. So on the one hand, everyone was like, own your own coins. Well, there's nothing further away from owning a coin than trading an ETF on something. Like you buy a silver ETF. There's no silver showing up at your on your porch. So and it really those are used for price control.
Sure.
So it's the institutions getting involved. Bitcoin's not going to go to zero when that happens, but it's also not what's going to send it to 100K a coin. So so yeah, I'm a little wary of that. The court stuff could give it more sustained bullish momentum if that goes their way. But best case for me is actually for it to have a dramatic sell off and then we play the recovery. That would be our best aligned for what we do. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Oh no! If you need some money next week, it could go to 30K Tuesday. That would help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you long term. The charts are the chart. Again, I kind of look. the way I look at conditions and sector conditions and all that is just a little different, I think, for most people. But those charts are, if we had like a fear and greed scale, they're definitely on the greed side again. They're getting there.
Yeah.
Like I didn't. I think the last time I was real kind of not mean, but direct about crypto was the riot at 20, and I was like, no, P, we're not doing that. and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and but now I'm like when you said Mar, I was like, okay, let me hear what you have to say. So um,
Yeah.
I would take a little more. If you read the note, the smalls are a little better, but that might also play into the COVID, right? Because that's where kind of all the altcoins came from. Is people were bored and they needed something to do, and they had Bitcoin
Yep.
winnings. Had Bitcoin winnings. They wanted, and it's kind of rolled into NFTs, and I don't think that's the sector we go in, but people do have to waste time when they're locked down. So um,
Yeah.
let's get into a little boring stuff. I do want to talk surprise excuse me, surprise you a little bit. I do want to talk retail because I do think
Yeah.
one of your topics, but I do think it plays into what we're talking about here. During COVID and after COVID, people's, what do you want to call it? People's buying habits are more identified now, and I think we'll have that if we do go into another COVID. But we definitely have a different situation out of COVID. And what I'm seeing off the top, I try to keep it real simple, is companies that have other people's products aren't doing well. Companies that make their own products, they only got to sell one T-shirt to pay for another 20 of them, so they're doing okay.
Yeah.
So your guys like Gap, Abercrombie Fitch, Guess, Build-A-Bear, those kind of guys, they're all doing pretty good. Probably Victoria's Secret, which I think reports this week, probably do good.
Yep.
Um, but your guys like Foot Locker and Dick's that have other
And,
people's products,
Macy's. Yeah.
Macy's, yeah, they're not doing
Yeah.
good because they're not making the big margins like the guys that keep it all in house. That's what I got. What do you got?
Uh, yes. So I specifically, my first thing is like to jump into Macy's and Dick's Sporting Goods. I'm like, they're at a better price now than when I had planned to look at scaling into them. But I just don't think you can. I'm pumping the brakes on it because I think there is kind of a sustained issue that they're having that isn't likely to go away. So I think you're better off moving into ones that did well than trying to buy the dip and catch a knife on the ones that did poorly. So the 3 day rule might end up being like a 2 week rule on a couple of these. Um, you know, Nike's kind of interesting because I mean they fit what you're saying about they make their own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So under $100 now. It it could it I don't know. Nike to me, not that we get into a lot of individual stocks, but it could drop another five, six, $7. But it's getting pretty close to a spot where I think you just can set it and forget it. Because Nike will go back to 110 to 120, in my opinion. So there
Yeah,
are going to be
I'm just
some
talking
opportunities like that.
like survivability, not even from a
Oh
chart
yeah, yeah,
standpoint. I'm just talking like
yeah,
from as companies surviving. That's a that's separating them right now. The people that are still
right,
having problems 2 years later, and the people that aren't having problems 2 years later, are having less problems. I don't want to say not having problems because retail's having problems. Let's just get that on the table.
yeah,
We're trying to
yeah.
find diamonds in the rough here with retail. That's what it is. Shout out to Build Bear.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, Burlington Coat Factory, like that's another one where the chart was primed to make a move, but the earnings report just had
Yeah, holes.
too many obstacles, right? And so they check back down, and and I'm just gonna like ones like that. I'm just gonna wait. I think again you can get another 10-15% down here, but it might take 3 weeks. So it's not even good to short, but
No.
it's just not good to enter either. So so to enter it, basically my whole approach is this: I'm gonna just wait either way. If it recovers and does well, okay, then it checks back down to a level I'm familiar with, and then I'll enter, or it's just going to bleed out. So Burlington Coat Factory, I'll buy it at 180 if it wants to go up and confirm that, or I'm going to buy it at 130 or 120 if it just collapses. So um, I think you just have to be. It's a sector where patience is gonna pay off, and I said it. Sector fragmentation is the thing.
Hmm.
This sector illustrates it as much as anyone. The winners and losers are really separating. And then my last point on it is, I think some of the online only retailers are getting a little punished
Yes.
when they're probably the one who's going to have the best opportunity going forward, because they have the future of shopping is already sort of built into what they do. So I like some of those as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, I led the way. I mean, you're God, brain emoji today for sure. Um,
Yeah,
I I led the way with the shopping habits, and we kind of seen that you have pre, during, and post COVID shopping habits, and you also have the generation getting younger, and people just don't like to go to the stores a lot, um, it- unless it's very specific. Like
yeah,
then you enjoy the experience. Like I'm gonna use the easy one. I'm gonna use the lay down here. But people love going to the Apple store, bro. Like if you're an Apple guy, you
yeah,
love going to the Apple store. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
so I don't think like retail is gonna die, but you're kind of like middle of the road. We just carry everything. You got to deal with the lady and three kids in a shopping cart. People just don't. You have to find parking. It's hard. People just don't want
yeah,
to do that. People just don't want to do that if they don't have to. So I think we're changing, and you hit my next. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm just riding what you said, but you hit my point exactly. Like in the long run, I don't want to trade Macy's. Like I don't want to be a Macy's owner in 2050. What's that gonna
yeah,
do? What's that gonna do for me? I'll say the ones, and you know the ones. One's on the list this week. Um,
yep,
but there's a couple of those because I think that's where how people's shopping habits are gonna go. They already do. And then you start getting the word of mouth, like, hey, where'd you get that? I ain't seen that shirt down at our local Fred Meyer where I buy my shirts at, or whatever, right? And
yeah,
you're gonna start getting that rotation. Or where'd you get them pills? Those kind of pills that we don't carry that at the local store. And then they're like, oh, I subscribe to this company, and it's subscription based too. That's also playing its way into retail. So I think that um, would also be a good place to be now because COVID's gonna not only COVID would kind of help those in a positive way, right? Like if you were in retail stocks right now and COVID happened, you'd probably want to be in the online retailers and not on the storefront retailers. That's just the, you know.
yeah, and a clear example. I'll give one example of this, and it connects to China. Shorts got killed on Baidu earnings because everyone was assuming
Yes.
it's China, everything's a disaster. This is going to drop 40% or something. Because, SC had just done that. Well,
Yep.
SC's video games, different deal. But yeah, Baidu specifically is online shopping, online marketing, and the market reacted really favorable. Went from 124, topped out at like 136 last week. So yeah, there are a lot of companies that are in a good spot that are positioned really well in this the online shopping thing. So we'll definitely be on that, and we have a really good track record for finding those
Defining
early,
those.
and a lot of them are small caps, so you can get a pretty good number of shares at some of our spots too.
Isn't that one that Timu or whatever it is shopping app?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So that's what we do well. That these, I'm gonna say college kids. I'm gonna be nice today. That's what we do well at these colleges. We actually know what the stocks are.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. Yeah. That
Before.
was that was my whole thing with Nvidia. I'm like, you don't even know what a semiconductor is. So you're just so obsessed with this stock. You don't even know what they do. But
Hey,
yeah.
on those big guys, I don't get in many stock fights anymore, but when I used to get into stock fights with some of those guys, I would just ask like the Twitter people or in other discords, not to be named, that start with an A.
Yeah.
Um, I would just ask them where they were headquartered at, and they would lose their fucking mind because they didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Right.
like the big guys, you should know where they're from. I mean, you should have looked into them at least that much and got an address.
Yeah, no, um, the professional, like my day job version of this is the people who like you can know the title of a book, but you know who published it, and you
Yeah,
know why that matters, and you're just kind of average everyday people that they don't, and then not to get off on a tangent here, but like in like so medieval literature and all that, when people start getting into the really kind of like History Channel, like ancient aliens type of stuff, or even like lesser versions of that, like King Arthur, right? Like
yeah.
people have all these ideas about what happened, and the book they're referring to was, self-published, or it's just some fly-by-night publisher. It's like no one who's actually an expert in that those texts was involved in this at all. It's just someone's vanity project or whatever. So I mean, so there's a difference, and there's a difference in DD about like knowing companies and knowing what they do, and having a read on sectors and all that, versus just looking at the ticker and putting it on a meme and going from there. So
100%.
yeah,
100%. We need more of that.
I'm with you.
I'm down for that spaces if we can have that kind of conversation where you
Oh
bring in
yeah, no, that'd be cool.
where you
Yeah,
bring in some medieval literature and relate it to the. I'm down. Um,
yeah,
I gotta get Spy in here. Getting a
yeah.
little long here, so let's get Spy for a couple reasons. One, because we always do it, and for two, I'm taking the dub this week. I'm gonna tell you that up front. We were
That's
close.
good.
We were close though. We were close. You were 441, 430, and I was 431. So we were straddled on the bottom. I had $1 more, and then 444 on the top. So I had a couple dollars more than you on the top. We ended up 445, so I was a buck off there, almost hit that target, and then 35 down. So we didn't really get down as far as either of us thought.
Yeah,
Stayed inside though, the weekly range, which I kind of talked about happening. Um, I'm gonna say it up front since I won again. Um, I think we're staying inside again.
yeah.
I really do. Um, I'm biased to my thesis. It's usually successful for me to stay that way. And I said 4 to 6 weeks, and I think we have to stay sideways for 3 to 4 of them. So
Yeah.
inside here.
The one comment I made last week that I will take credit for, I said the bigger move down will be in QQQ.
Yes, you did.
Um,
Yeah.
that was my take on that, and that ended up happening. So I easier for me to read, the flow wise and everything. And people will notice I almost never trade SPY. If I'm in an ETF, it is QQQ. So yeah, I'm
100%.
with you on the staying inside this week, and I think the tech is going to give you the bigger range. Not a lot of huge earnings this week, but there are a couple that matter a lot, like Salesforce being one of them. Um, so I'll kind of be looking for that. So do you want to go first on your numbers then?
Yeah. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go first since I won again. Just give me crap. Um, I don't trade ETFs either, sir. If I
Yeah.
do, it's like gush and cold.
Right. Yeah.
I don't even look at this goddamn thing. So this is the neutral playing field.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, I'm gonna again. What I think the main point of this conversation should be is we both thought we were gonna get more of a 430 test and we didn't. Um, so will we get that this week? We're at 39. I'm gonna go 434 on the downside, and my top side. Yeah, 434 on the downside, so I think we stay inside by a buck on the bottom. My top side, I'm just going to hit it again, that 444. So I got $10 range, 34 to 44.
All right. Very good. So the one thing I'll say about flow on, kind of interesting right now. When you look at the open interest, the top 20 so the highest open interest contracts, are all puts.
Mm-hmm.
But they're a lot of them are on the bid side, and one of them, the highest one, is going to expire worthless, and that's 915 400p. I'm pretty confident that's not going to make any money. But the one that is a little bit interesting to the downside is the third highest OI is 915 430p, and a lot of that volume is recent. So 40,000 of it coming out of the 140,000 came on Friday. So I think that one actually, and that one's leaning bearish. So that has some potential. There's 2 weeks on that, meaning we wouldn't need the full move down. So I'm just gonna go under you by $2. I'm gonna say 432.
Like it.
And on the upside, I'm gonna have to kind of base this on the chart. There isn't a lot of flow to help me out here. So let's see.
446.61 is your 20-day volume profile.
And yeah, I was gonna say 446 was was the number I was gonna go with. So yeah, I
You're
guess
bigger
I'm
than
just
me.
a little,
You're wider range.
Yeah, the wider range, and how how that comes about is always important. And I kind of get a better read on how I think the week's going to go early when futures open up, and then I see some of the pre-market stuff. I mean, if people want to go back and check those daily game plan notes, they do pretty well. And but I think time is of the essence there. Greek word for that's kairos. Like, you have to have it's at the right moment. And if you're looking for something to flush, like, you better. And I say that in the note. I'm talking about, out of the gate. I'm talking about maybe the first 15 minutes or something like that. And then it's kind of, and then the game starts. So that's why it's kind of like pregame, and then it has to get to a level, and we kind of see what happens from there. So how we get to these numbers, if we start the week sour, that would be a change, because the last few Mondays have been pretty strong. So those are our numbers. How we get there, a lot of different paths. So definitely stay on our notes for that.
Yeah, no, I think the trend continues. Kind of see it Friday. We've had sell off Thursday, Friday a little bit of relief. Monday's good. Tuesday,
Yeah.
the week's kind of sideways. It just is what it is. Not everything moves at once. Not really even having really green days, to be honest with you. It's kind of mix and match. So you really got to focus on your plays, in my opinion. You're a little closer, so I'm gonna ask you that question. 430, not tested this week, obviously. Do you still see it being tested?
Yeah, I do. I mean, to me, when I look at flow on SPY, which is a more difficult read than some things, but the fact that 430, and especially October 430, October 20th 430p, which is a pretty expensive contract at almost $600, but that they're buying that, they're intending to take that in the money, and then the question is, can we get to 415 or 400? I start looking out to November, January. That's kind of lingering. But yeah, a little less sure on that. But I do think that we get a jolt down under 430, and then we make a decision. And then I think we potentially could shake out of this to the upside at that point. But I almost feel like it's inevitable that test needs to happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Ooh. Oh, I love picking your brain. I got one more before we go. We are getting long here, but I just like your insight so much, especially when it matches mine. You just say it better.
Yeah.
So do you see? Have we hit the high of SPY for the year already? Which is that 460 we just hit like a month ago. 459.
Leaning towards yes at this point.
Okay.
And because I think we're going to have some really good range up, but it's going to be from a higher low, or a lower spot than here, and I do think it's going to be a challenge to get back up there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, everyone, full port that, everyone. No, no, good stuff. Yeah, I'm starting to get curious about that. As we don't, yeah, as I kind of see the same thing. I'm 100% that we see 430 again. I'm about 45% right now on if we see 460 again. So, totally with you.
Yeah, the this all year, and you traded along kind of what we talked about, you should be up a decent chunk already. And now it's just kind of how you want to manage that. I keep using that phrase, kind of closer to the vest. That's how I
Yeah, yeah, I
trade
like it.
now.
Yep, yep.
So so yeah, I think that's going to continue.
Hey, August to April, I don't want to hear shit. You ready? You ready to go to work, P?
Yeah, let me grab a quick refill and then I'm good.